Greetings. In this clip we're going to briefly discuss the 7 utterances of Jesus whilst on the cross. As always, we'll keep the video to about 10 minutes, so we're going to leave out more discussion than we'd like, but hopefully include enough to raise questions and comments and to make you want to find out more. To this end, our contact details can be found at the end of this video. The scriptures tell us Jesus said 7 things whilst being crucified. Our knowledge of these 7 sayings come not only from the 4 Gospels of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, but from many Old Testament prophecies as well, which is the focus of a separate video in this series. Today, however, we're concentrating on these 7 utterances. These 7 utterances are sometimes known as the words, and there's some debate as to the exact order in which they were said, as each of the 4 Gospels do not record all of them. Why this is, and why there are 4 Gospels, are also topics of separate videos. But for now, suffice to say that these 4 Gospels, by these 4 authors, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, are not a result of random selection, but by divine design. And we will learn that the architecture of the entire Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, is an integrated message system from the Almighty, containing His authentication and His signature. These 7 sayings in their most likely order are from Luke 23 verse 34, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Secondly, from Luke 23:43, truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. Thirdly, from John 19 verses 26 to 27, woman, behold your son. And then in verse 27 he said to his beloved disciple, behold your mother. Fourthly, from Matthew 27:46, he said in Aramaic, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, and that is, my God, why have you forsaken me? Fifthly, from John 19:28, I am thirsty. 6, from John 19 verse 30, it is finished. And then 7, from Luke 23:46, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Traditionally, the 7 sayings are called words of forgiveness, salvation, relationship, abandonment, distress, triumph, and reunion. These sayings form part of Christian meditation and are often used during the festivals of Lent, Holy Week, and Good Friday. They are an integral part of the liturgy or formal ritual in the denominational churches, specifically Anglican, Catholic, and Methodist churches. We don't contest this point of view, but we stress Digital Video Ministries is not so much concerned with the sayings as an embodiment in rituals, but rather what the sayings were in themselves and in what context Jesus uttered them. We will intend to demonstrate that to the last of his mortal life, Christ was the teacher, showing his divinity and demonstrating his fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies. The first saying as Jesus lay hanging on the cross is a prayer. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. And Jesus forgave all of his persecutors, those who accused him, those who bore false testimony, those who sentenced him, and those who mocked him. Forgiveness is an essential ingredient of a Christian life, which Jesus was demonstrating to us. Irrespective of circumstance, we are required to forgive those who trespass against us, for to harbour bitterness and unforgiveness will ultimately lead to self-destruction. The second saying is one of salvation. Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. There were 2 thieves being crucified either side of Jesus. One mocked him, but the other defended Jesus and spontaneously declared, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom, as recorded in Luke 23:42. Salvation comes to those who believe, irrespective of who you are, where you are, your background, your timing, your qualification or your sin, as long as you truly believe in the love and the grace of the Almighty. Jesus' third saying on the cross was an instruction, both to his mother Mary and to the Apostle John, whom the Scriptures refer to as his beloved disciple. He said, Woman, "Behold your son," and then to John he said, "Behold your mother." Jesus referred to his mother Mary as woman, not out of disrespect, but signifying a shift in his relationship with her. Mary was his mortal mother who gave birth to him, but he hung on the cross as the Son of God, not the Son of Mary. Jesus is ensuring the well-being of Mary, and it is significant that Jesus entrusted her to the care of the Apostle John. John was the only disciple of Jesus not to be martyred. Mary lived with John the Apostle, who was sentenced to exile on the island of Patmos and was later released and then went to live out his days in the city of Ephesus. There is debate amongst scholars where Mary eventually lived and died, Ephesus or Jerusalem, but this has no significance for this video clip. Jesus' fourth saying was, my God, why have you forsaken me?" There can be absolutely no doubt as to the extreme anguish and suffering Jesus was going through on the cross. There have been substantial medical journals written on the topic of crucifixion and the process the body undergoes until death by asphyxiation. The outstretched arms draw up the chest cavity, preventing the lungs from functioning, especially since there is no support. It would be understandable if this was a cry of anguish, but it was not. Under extreme circumstances, Christ was teaching us that he was fulfilling Old Testament prophecies. There are over 300 messianic prophecies in the Old Testament. All were fulfilled by Jesus. We're going to deal with some of these in a separate clip in this series. The Old Testament prophecy particularly relevant to this utterance is Psalm 22, written by King David 1,000 years before Christ was crucified. It opens, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And Jesus quotes this line exactly. Verse 16 of Psalm 22 reads, "Dogs have surrounded me, a band of evil men has encircled me. They have pierced my arms and my feet." Going back to the New Testament recount of the crucifixion, Luke 23:33 reads, "When they come to a place called the Skull, they crucified them, along with the criminals, one to his right, the other to his left." Verse 17 of Psalm 22 reads, "I can count all my bones. People stare and gloat over me." Jesus' bones were not broken, despite the custom of the time to break the legs of the victims of crucifixion, which was to hasten death. John 19:33 says, "But when they came to Jesus and found that he was already dead, they did not break his legs." Verse 18 of Psalm 22 reads, "They divide my garments among them and cast lots for my clothing." Going back to the New Testament, Matthew's account of the crucifixion, chapter 27 verse 35 reads, "When they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots." The fifth saying of Jesus on the cross was, "I am thirsty." It's perfectly feasible that Jesus did feel thirsty on the cross. However, scholars point to the incident where Jesus asked the Samaritan woman at the well for water. Samaritans feature in Jesus' teachings, amongst others in the parable of the Good Samaritan, recorded in Luke 10:25-37. For these parables and incidents to be understood, we have to understand the status of the Samaritan people of the day, regarded by Jews as second-class citizens. John 4 verse 9 records the incident of the woman and her reaction to Jesus, saying, "How can you ask me for a drink?" For Jews do not associate with Samaritans. The significance of this teaching is that we are all equal in the eyes of God. The sixth saying of Jesus on the cross was, "It is finished." And this was not a cry of distress, but a cry of triumph. It was his announcement that he had accomplished what he had come to earth to do. A plan fulfilled, salvation made possible, a love shown, and fulfillment of prophecies. The last saying of Christ on the cross was his third prayer. "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." Jesus submitted to his Father's will right up to the end. Christ's spirit was his to give, and he gave it willingly for us. This is viewed as a model prayer for anyone who is sick, afraid, or even dying. When darkness seems to prevail in life, It takes faith even to talk to God, even if it is to complain to Him. These last words of Jesus from the cross show His absolute trust in God. It is also significant that His Spirit was His to give, and He gave it willingly. Many thanks and blessings for watching this video. There are a few things we'd like to point out which would put it into context. We are a non-denominational Christian fellowship who believe that the Bible is without error and infallible. Our mission is to study the Scriptures, whose secrets are being revealed every day, and to spread the good news. We do not solicit material assistance. Importantly, the topics we cover have been subjected to substantial academic research over many hundreds of years, so we inevitably leave out more than what we can include in a 10-minute video clip. And we encourage questions and will answer them to the best of our ability. And we can be contacted at the contact centres below.